The ground raid is officially here, and so is Lyle. I am RC Maxfield. Welcome in to the Back to 12 podcast channel. On today's video, we will discuss, Texas Tech handling business against Houston. We'll look ahead a little bit to Baylor as well, but we'll also discuss how this is really kind of a new era for Texas Tech football in the sense that the air raid has kind of been put to the side. Cut the air out, insert ground. Feel like UPS right now if you're a
Mm.
Texas Tech fan. That's Lyle. I'm RC, as I mentioned. Lyle, how you doing, man?
Oh man, feeling good, fresh off a win. Beat Houston on top of that. For me, it's a little more special. It was great to see those guys put it together. Kind of figure out something to get it done on both sides. I thought it was a great game. Thought the fans was awesome. Wasn't there, but saw it on TV, and it seemed like it was rocking. And then top it off, honoring Coach Leach and Kliff and some of those amazing people that got in there. So, like I said, I know I had a rampage and went off a little bit about that on Twitter
Love to see it.
earlier, but definitely it was just a whole cool weekend. It's at the end of the day, like we talk about to these people, man. It's not about beef with Mike, and it's about just being honored, man. Like anytime you get to be honored is an amazing thing, regardless of the situation. So I kind of wish he would have got honored before he was gone, so he could see the impact and stuff that he's done for people. And but like I said, at the end of the day, man, people need to be honored that deserve to be honored, regardless of situations that's going on. Honor those people, man, because like I said, Texas Tech is who they are because of him, and vice versa. He is because who he is because of Texas Tech. So I think it's one of those arguments. People don't get it twisted. Without Texas Tech, he wouldn't be where he's at, and vice versa. So they go hand in hand together. People, we got to remember that. And we talked about that in the podcast. Same with my situation. I wouldn't be anything without Texas Tech. Also help Texas Tech do some things along the way. So I think it's one of those things that it's a mutual agreement, and those guys need to be those guys need to be praised and honored. And like I said, shout out to Link for letting Kliff come. I thought that was really cool.
It
Um,
was.
that was awesome that he let him come and have his moment. And that was a huge game for USC as well. So shout out to Link and just shout out to those people that got in. And let's just remember as fans, man, at the end of the day, celebrate these people while they're here. Don't make it about anything other than those people when it's about them on that day. After that, this weekend, you want to bring that back up, feel free, do what you do. But on people's special days, let's honor those people, man, that deserve to be in there.
I think, too, the interesting part of it, and again, you're right. Mike Leach isn't Mike Leach without Texas Tech, but Texas Tech probably isn't well known like it is without Mike Leach, right? Like simple and plain, it's a symbiotic relationship in that regard, right? They they benefited from each other. Um, I also found it interesting, like some of the people's arguments, because I was a degenerate and went through all of the tweets that you were sending back and forth to people. By the way, you were right. Who cares what other people think in that regard? You knew him better than anybody else in those conversations. Um, and so I think it's interesting from this standpoint. People have always asked and always said, well, why hasn't Texas Tech done this sooner? Well, first and foremost, there was legal proceedings going on. That's part of it, right? Second of all, it's one of those deals where there were still people on the board of regents that fired him. People have changed. There is a new influx of people now on there. Nobody that had to deal with Mike Leach in that situation where, listen, whatever side you're on, okay, I can see your point for sure. Um, but nobody is on the board of regents or in that group of people that made the decision to let him go and rightly or wrongly did what they did, right? Like that's gone. This is a new wave of people. They wanted to honor him. Does it suck that he's passed away? Absolutely. And who knows if this happens if he's still alive today, right? Who cares? But you're 100% right in the sense of this is why I say who cares in this regard. He 100% deserved to be honored. That's clear cut because it's one of those things. Again, Texas Tech isn't where they are today without him, right? And you see Joey McGuire, with the shirt on, honoring Mike Leach and everything like that. It was awesome to see. They had the helmet sticker as well. Like it was cool to have him honored. And I mean, if you think about it, it was cool. Just I, I don't know the exact word for it, but it was cool to see. I guess the quarterback that kind of push started the air raid, get honored alongside the coach that made him, right? Like,
Mhm.
sense of Kliff Kingsbury, if he doesn't do what he did on the field, who knows if Graham Harrell happens, right? Like, who knows, right? Or who knows if Mike Leach is a thing. But also, if it wasn't for Mike Leach, who knows if Kliff Kingsbury is Kliff Kingsbury, right?
And
It
Patty
goes both
Mahomes,
ways.
and it goes down.
It goes both ways, right? And so it was cool to see those two guys honored. It was awesome to have Mike Leach's wife there as well, getting to see really what he helped build in a lot of ways. Because, I mean, again, it's been a while since he's been out there, right? But who knows if it isn't for Mike Leach and that hunger that Texas Tech had during the time where you were playing football, if we're seeing these renovations at this given moment, do they happen? Yeah, probably, but maybe who knows right now, right? Like, there's a long way of looking at this in terms of all the success that Mike Leach brought to Texas Tech. But I thought the coolest moment by far was the fact that Mike Leach was being honored and the guy that really elevated Texas Tech in terms of making the air raid a national thing, like Kliff Kingsbury, were being honored the same weekend. So definitely really cool.
And I think on just the last thing on that too is just what people don't understand too is like the sacrifices his wife made, his kids made. I
100%.
know how much time he was away from them because I was with him. And so, like, for her to kind of sit back and enjoy, I know she wished he was here, but to sit back and enjoy all the sacrifices that she made, which she made a crap ton. His kids made a crap ton because his kids are up there with us half the time.
Mm-hmm.
They made a crap ton of sacrifices. So, for her to see all the sacrifice she made come back and be honored, I thought that was freaking amazing. And see Rodney get in there was another one, man. He does so much for us alum, man, and coming back and bringing us back and helping us be involved. And to see him, like I said, he the first true quarterback to do his thing, and really get out there and be the man and kind of help Coach Leach and be with his wife and help her come up there and all that stuff. I thought was freaking amazing. So that was my biggest argument. What pissed me off so much is these people have done so much for not only me, but so many other cats here, and people are taking that away by making it more than something other than about those people. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. It's same with Kliff. It doesn't matter what he did in NFL. That doesn't matter. We're honoring him for what he did at Texas Tech and the relationship that they have, and all those people that were up there have such a big impact that people don't even know. Like Rodney Allison, I bet you know, most people are like he's a great quarterback. Yeah, he was a freaking phenomenal quarterback, but he also does so much behind the scenes
Way
for
better off the field than on it.
yeah, like people have no clue. And like I said, I know some people can get mad and be like, "Well, we all couldn't get lucky and play." It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they do a lot of stuff behind the scene. They're humble people, and they're not going to come out and say, "Well, I did this, I started this, I did this." But they do some really cool events and some that I've got to be a part of as far as even giving a Letterman jacket. Got to give one to B Mort this year, and it was freaking amazing, man. So I got to do a lot of cool stuff in my life, but getting to give back and be involved has been 100 times cooler than ever putting on a uniform and playing. But it wouldn't be possible without those type people behind the scenes. So I just hope everybody realizes, man, when we talk about it, let's make it about that. Hey, carry on about your arguments about the money. Y'all do that now. It's over. His weekend's been served, and carry on about what your weekends. But just remember, these people deserve a day when it's their time, just to be with their family. I'm sure that was hard for Coach Leach's wife with him not being there. And
Yeah.
not that she probably gets on Twitter, but if she got on Twitter and heard some of your ignorant comments, she probably would have been pissed off. So let's just let people have their moment when they have that. And I'm done with my rant.
I've got nothing else to say. That's a good way to end it right there. Let's move on to the game that actually took place
Hey,
on Saturday. And listen, I'm sure Mike Leach was watching, and he probably thought to himself, what the hell is running the football? Right. But that's what Texas Tech is doing now. And they're doing it at a pretty good level in terms of having a guy like Taj Brooks leading the way. This was the first time in a Big 12 matchup since 1998, Lyle, that Texas Tech has had two 100-yard rushers in the same game. Obviously, Taj Brooks and Cameron Valdez did that in the 49-28 win for Texas Tech over Houston. It did not look pretty in the first half defensively for the Red Raiders, but I don't know what Tim DeRuyter said, did, in terms of in the halftime locker room. Maybe they gave that special stuff from Space Jam to the defense. Who knows? But a shutout in the second half, 104 total yards of offense for the Houston Cougars in the second half. But in all seriousness, you could see some of the adjustments that they made. And one of the biggest one that I don't think people were talking enough about, and Joey McGuire actually mentioned it yesterday at his press conference, one of the adjustments they made, and I would expect them to use it going forward because it worked really, really well, was taking Bryce Ramirez, that senior edge rusher, and moving him back alongside and having him play alongside Ben Roberts and dropping him back into coverage. He should have had a pick. He dropped it. But I think Texas Tech has kind of found maybe this alternative to their defense that they didn't want to really have to use, but the pass rush just isn't there, Lyle. And now instead of rushing and everything like that, they have to get creative with the blitzes. That's totally fine. But really what I noticed in the second half, Lyle, was they were dropping 7, even sometimes 8. And they were like, all right, we're not getting a pass rush anyway. Let's just see if Tony Bradford, Jalen Hutchings, and another guy, Miles Cole, whoever it may be, Joseph Adedire, can just make Donovan Smith uncomfortable with 3, and then we're always going to have a spy on him, right? And that was Bryce Ramirez, and that's what they did. And it worked out for him in the second half. Is that something that they need to do moving forward? I don't know. Every game's different, and you're definitely not going to be facing a 6'6", 250-pound quarterback every week. I mean, you're just not, right? But I do think that it's good to see Texas Tech showing those adjustments specifically on the defensive side. Now, Lyle, I know a lot of people are going to want to hear your offensive takes, and I feel like we're more of an offensive podcast, and I appreciate that because as a Madden player, Lyle, screw defense. No one plays defense in Madden. I am an offensive-only kind of guy. Are you as well, or are you playing the whole game?
For me, it changes a little bit,
Okay.
Being a head coach. I feel like, at the end of the day, I don't know anything about defense. So, but I still got to act like I do know. And,
It's fair.
And kind of act like I know what's going on. So I think I've kind of put a little more thought and Madden into my defense. I used to just blitz everybody and one-on-one.
Cover 0 guy, huh?
Cover 0 guy. And now, I'm kind of figuring out some stuff. Maybe I have a really good defensive coordinator, so I don't have to tell him much. But every now and then, I just, hey, man, we ever tried this, this cover 2 blitz? He's like, what are you talking about? Tried it on Madden. It's really good.
Yeah. No,
so, just seeing all.
I definitely do not play any defense on Madden. Offense only guy. Give me that San Francisco 49er playbook every day of the week. It's just
I'm a Miami Dolphin guy.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. But Tyreek Hills don't grow on trees. We talked about that last week, though. Yeah. On the offensive side, though, Lyle, again, people saw the thumbnail when they clicked on this video. This team is now a rushing team, right? I mean, it's simple and plain. That's what it is. You look at the stats this year, Texas Tech has 183 pass attempts, right? And 179 rush attempts. Last week, they had 22 passes, 37 rushing attempts, right? This is going to be the blueprint moving forward, I think, specifically for Texas Tech, because simple and plain, the best offensive player you have is Taj Brooks. And you have to keep him on the field and use him in creative ways, or are we going to see a bunch of, halfback draws up the middle? I mean, we're going to see some, but that's not the only thing you can run here, right? And I think what we've learned, and we're halfway through the season now, basically, Lyle, right? Like, this is game 6, right? We kind of know what you are at this point if you are Texas Tech. And I'm looking at the offensive line, and personally, I'm like, they really aren't that great at pass protection. They just aren't. But they're pretty damn good at run blocking, right? So you got to use Taj Brooks, and Taj Brooks has made people miss as well. But I think moving forward, you're going to see more of the maybe not 37 rush attempts and 22 pass attempts, right? But I think you're probably going to see in the neighborhood of really about 50-50, maybe even a little more rushing attempts where, let's just say there's 60. Perfect example. This past week, right, there was 59 offensive plays is what it equated to, right? Let's just say there's 60 or 70 for math's sake, right? I think you're going to be in that neighborhood where you have about, 35, 38 rush attempts and then 32, 35 pass attempts. And you have to think about it from this standpoint as well. How long does this AC joint sprain really bother B. Morton, right? Like, how long does that bother him? I don't think that that's an injury that you can just oh, we took it, a week off and he's good to go. I think this is a thing that's going to bother him throughout the whole year. So you have to manage that if you're Texas Tech. And now Zach Kittley, give him credit this past week. Again, we talked about it before going into the Houston game. He needed to use motion. My God, did I see a lot of motion? Thank you, Kittley. Thank you. Thank you. Seriously, thank you, my guy. You're in the thummy too. How about that? How about that? Your guy's in the thummy. Yeah, I can't pull off that hat, by the way, in the thumbnail, but not a lot of people can. But I do think that that's what you're going to see from Texas Tech now. And I talked about it yet on yesterday's video on the channel, Lyle. I think you're going to see them be a run-first team. And when they pass, it's going to be short and intermediate stuff and then a bunch of play action. Because I think that that's where B. Morton can really beat you, because we know the arm strength is there. Even with the AC joint issue, right? We know he's got the arm strength to be a gunslinger and throw it 55, 60 yards down the field. I think that that's really where it comes in terms of opening that up, because, again, what have we talked about most with the wide receivers? They can't create separation. Play action passes, in theory, should create a little bit of separation because the defense is on their heels and the offense knows where they're going. Do you agree that Texas Tech is more now on the running front, or do you think this is going to be basically like a any given week type deal?
Yeah, I think it's a any given type week, even with the motion stuff. Kind of felt like, it kind of threw Houston off. There's some teams we talk about that run with the motion. There's some teams that bump. There's some teams. So I just think this week, the way that Houston played it, they're a team that I thought they like to play man a little bit. And so the motions got people out the box. And even if they're not, they're bumping, they got to communicate, hey, you move over. Sometimes that throws people off, takes their eyes off for 1 second. I think it's just, Kitley's going to take what they're giving you. And I think they gave us the run, or we were able to run this week. So we ran it more. But I think it's one of those things you can't really go in a game. And I know we're speculating, but you can never go in a game and say, hey, we're going to probably go 30. We're going to try to run more than we're going to pass. I mean,
Sure.
You can't go, whatever they give you, they give you. Like I said, at the beginning of the year, no one was talking about Taj Brooks. They said he was okay. He was good.
Yeah.
No one was talking about Taj Brooks, and no one was talking about Cam.
Hey, man, I had him at a 1,000-yard rusher this year.
You
Just
did.
saying.
You did.
Just saying.
You did. But most people weren't talking about Cam and, him coming onto the scene with two backs.
Yeah.
That wasn't a conversation. And like I said, that once again, Cam was hurt earlier in the season. So like I said, it's when you game plan as a coordinator and this is what you think you have. And then you show up to game one and people aren't, aren't there because they're injured. People aren't producing how you thought they were. Then you have to go and figure out a new game plan. So you never know how the season goes. If those dudes are going to continue to make plays, yeah, I think they're absolutely I think Taj is the best guy we got, but he still got to produce every week. DCs are still going to watch film and realize last week that he ran for 101 yards and Cam ran for 111 yards and we threw for 160. So, I mean, we ran for 200 and threw for 160. So, I think you're going to see also is DC say, hey, I'm going to take the risk of them beating me throwing. I'm going to put people in the box. I'm going to rush. And so I think we're going to have to throw. I think everybody in America knows what Kittley wants to do, so they're preparing to throw the ball. And we're just not that good at throwing it right now. So I think that's part of the issue as we're running the ball so well because everybody knows Kit's going to want to throw the ball. Everyone in America knows that. If it's 4th and 1, Kit liable to throw a vert. Like that's just what we get.
We've already seen it. We've already seen it on 3rd and 2.
So it opens up. So I just think it's going to continue down to what DCs do, what our kids are able to do. Can those guys, when they bring everybody in the box, can those outside receivers win? Can they do the one-on-one? Can they beat it? Like I like play action, like you were talking, but we struggle with blocking. So play action might not be great for us. It might, but like I said, at the end of the day, guys got to make plays. And we've talked about it over and over. And that's the thing. You just never know as a coordinator. I can't stress that enough. Like when Leach got Danny Amendola and Leach got Eric Morris, there's no way that you went and saw Eric Morris and said, man, that dude's going to be freaking good. There's no way. There's no way they came and got me and said, man, a 160-pound kid was 155 pounds in high school, 6 foot. there's no way that you come over there and be like, man, that dude knows how to recruit them. So it comes down to the kids and how they produce, because we had a bunch of kids or a bunch of guys that weren't 6'3", 250, 15 pounds that went out and made plays. So I say this all the time. Coaches got to put them in the right position, and they have to put them in the right position. As you stated earlier with the defense, he made an adjustment that made a big difference. Just putting kids in the right place. But once you put them in them places, those kids have to perform and have to get it done. So I think they did some great things. Like I said, Dre, I think he's an awesome punt returner. I think he's phenomenal at that, but still in the receivers, man, I still think we struggle. I think they're good receivers. So let me state that to everybody out here. We have really freaking good receivers, but you got to produce. You got to get open. Your job as a receiver is to make it as easy as you possibly can for your quarterback. And one day I had to have my quarterback come on the podcast and we could talk about it. So you guys that think I'm hating out there, we can talk about it so y'all know. But those guys just got to create space. It's not the quarterback's job to put it on the money. It's your job to create space, catch it anywhere in your vicinity. And like I said, I think we have the guys to do that, but we haven't been doing that as of right now. So those guys just got to figure it out and kind of help those dudes that help each other. It goes hand in hand. The run game, like I said, Taj is doing the receivers a favor right now because they're going to have to bring somebody else in the box.
Yeah.
If not, their teams are not going to let this man run for plus 100 yards every game. Or, I mean, let me not say they're not going to let him. They're going to make him work to get these type games that he had last game. So it's going to come down to, can those guys get open on the outside and make those guys kind of scoot back a little bit, respect the pass, or those dudes going to go full-fledged? Because like I said, if you're asking me, I'm going full-fledged and I'm taking a chance with the receivers. I might go zero the whole game and put saying 7 people in the box.
Yeah, I think that's where the play action is interesting to me, because I think you can go – obviously there's a lot of ways to run play action, right? You can run 2-man route, 3-man route, 4-man route. It really just depends on how many guys you want there back there protecting Baron Morton, right? And so we've talked about it in the sense of the offensive line has struggled pass blocking. Okay, let's bring in an extra tight end. He's been having a tight end on the field for a majority of the time now because, well, again, Kitley knows that the offensive line is struggling in pass pro, right? I think really on the play action stuff, the things that intrigue me are more of those 3-man routes. And what I mean by that is obviously during play action, just keep Taj Brook back there as an extra blocker, right? He's pretty solid at it.
Yeah.
Even for his staff. Yeah, he's a stocky dude, man. Like, I mean, it's one of those deals where it's like, okay. And if that's the case, I think you're going to see some route combinations where it's like, obviously put a go route out there, try and clear that safety out if you possibly can. But then you're going to look at the intermediate stuff. And I think that that's where, you get that cross action, whether that's Bradley or whoever it may be. I really want to see a route, Lyle, and we call it different things. You can call it what you want, and probably your way is much more accurate than mine. We call it a swim route, a swim go in high school. And what I mean by that is basically there's a cross and then you go up the sideline and go, right? And what I want to see more of is that kind of action where specifically on play action stuff, where maybe you get Bradley to go across on a drag, a slant, whatever it may be across the middle. And then you get a Miles Price or honestly Dre with his speed on the sideline on that swim go. And then you have whoever's on the opposite side of the field try and get the safety. And again, this is all a cover one look, right? But you're going to get more of that because you just talked about it. They're going to bring more guys in the box because of Taj Brooks. So you're probably going to see cover one a lot more here, right? And so that's where I really want to see things in terms of really making that safety decide what sideline am I going to? And then Barron has to identify after the play action, all right, the safety's on the left side. I'm looking for that go one-on-one on the other side, right? And if that happens, I think you can open things up and really make it where, okay, we can't have it where there's only one safety back now. And what does that do in the domino effect? One last guy in the box. Here you go, Taj, right? Yeah. It just makes it easier for Baron Morton to read the defense, because if I'm Kitley, right, and again, correct me if I'm wrong on this, you can talk to the quarterback in college until the 15-second mark, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes, sir.
If I'm trying to get the play in as quick as possible to Baron Morton and be able to talk to him, because if I see 2 safeties high, it's going to be a run play every time. because I know you can match up, right? At that point, at least in this theory of, okay, if there's two safeties high and they streak down, okay, you take those risks. But it's a helmet for a helmet at that point, and it's Taj Brooks trying to make a guy miss. I'll take my chances every day of the week with that, right? But if I see a one safety high, I am telling Barron, throw this ball deep. We're going in two actions on each side in terms of longer routes, because you're going to have an extra blocker in there. And Taj, in theory, you can tell him that. And my light just went out, so there you go on that front.
Mhm.
I look a lot more pale now on the screen. Sorry about that, folks. Didn't mean to scare you. I know it's spooky season, but
Ooh.
I think that that's kind of where I'm looking at for Texas Tech in the sense of I don't mind more sideline to sideline stuff with Baron Morton because I think he has a better arm than Tyler Shuck. But I also like it in the sense of, okay, if I see one safety high and I'm Baron Morton, I'm trying to get a route down the field on each side, right? Like on the sideline, because I'm trying to make that safety pick. And if I can use my head, the eye movement and everything like that and bait them, do it. But if I see two safeties high, I'm giving the ball to Taj Brooks, Cameron Valdez, Nehemiah Martinez, whoever's in the backfield, damn near every time. Just because you're giving me a hat for a hat, and that's all I can ask for in the run game.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're totally right. Two things I just say though, like they watch film, crap.
100%. 100%.
So, um, if he don't know one high and two high at this point in year three
Sure.
with Kitley, that's
Might be an issue. And I think he does. I'm just saying, I think it's always good to have your coach in your ear, like, hey, did you notice this? An extra set of eyes. You know what I mean?
and as it goes on, the quarterback scan, you got somebody in your ear, and I can see it also. You're looking to scan, hey, too high, too high. And you got it, you got your things. You
Sure.
also got the O line. You got people coming blitzing that you got to tell your O line which way to slide. So I mean, it's a lot that goes on. So I would say talking might be a little much for him. There's certain people that may know that, but honestly, like I said, my high school quarterback that we meet every day, he knows that, and I think the thing that people don't realize is also they're moving at the snap. Different stuff is happening. So I think that he knows it's just kind of making those number one. Can those guys make the play? Because
Sure.
if we see the one high and he throws it 10 times, and we go 0 for 10. Everybody's talking crazy about Kitley.
Yeah.
But that's the rules we're saying. If it's too high and we're running it every time and we ain't getting yards, then everybody's gonna be like, "Dang,
Sure.
man, this offense sucks." So I think how it comes down to those guys making plays. Like, yes, we know one high, but he's got to read it. But also, we see one high as a guy open, and he doesn't make the right read to make those guys slide to get that backer, the outside backer coming off the edge or that nickel, whatever type of defense they play. Then it doesn't work. So I just think it's a whole lot of small, minute things that has to get done before we even get to that point. And I think that's what we're working on because I think Kitley knows, you know, we got a tight end there. Okay, well, you got to communicate with the tight end, the O line to make sure they're all going the same direction. And so I think it's just the small stuff in that aspect. I think Kitley knows. I just like I said, I think he knows the insides and outs and stuff. Like each week we come up with something new that we found out that man, we got to be better at this. I think
Yeah.
Kit knows from the jump, and so trying to put it all together, man, is frustrating as a coach sometimes when like I said, because one day I want to, and you already know. One day I want to pull up my high school film so you can see how many people are running wide open that we miss. But yet sometimes they'd be like, "Come on,
Sure.
coach, man, can we get a first down?" And so I just think it's kind of like it's a lot of frustrating things I know for Kit as people that these guys do this 365 days a year, and
Yeah.
literally they probably get 1 month off. And I know it's frustrating sometimes. I know it's frustrating as kids when they're giving 100%, busting their butt, working hard, just not getting it done too. So I think, like I said, I think that they've got to do a good job of getting people in position to make plays. Like we know with Dre, we got to find ways to get that man the ball. And it's
I
not.
think Miles Price too. I think Miles Price is almost like the security blanket now for this team.
Mhm. And I think part is because a lot of that's on Bradley. I know he
Yeah.
didn't play, but a lot of that is because of Bradley. And like I said, when Crab was here, we had a whole bunch of people have 1,000 yards. When Crab left, They never had 1,000 yards again. So I think he's partly some of that. But even Dre, like I said, man, he's fast. We got to find ways to get him the ball because the routes ain't it. I mean, we've done this
Yeah.
all year, and I talked about that from the beginning of the year. It's nothing against him. He's a great receiver. He's ultra fast, but it's a step up from Austin P to Texas Tech and the people you
Hmm.
go against. So like I said, when you go against a 6'2" corner that runs a 4'3", shout out to Jimmy Smith. It gets real. It's a little different than Abilene High School playing Midland Lee. So I think and not to compare the two, but it is a difference. So I think we got to try to kind of find ways to get people the ball. I think that's one thing Kit could probably do a little better is, maybe some jet sweeps, maybe finding ways to get them, maybe some screens, maybe some stuff to get them the ball a little bit in that aspect. But like I said, at a receiver, that's the part of being a receiver. You get it sometimes, you don't. And if you get the ball thrown to you one time as a receiver, you better catch it because it may not come back to you all game. So I think, like I said, those guys are going to get more opportunities with these games moving forward, thanks to Taj and how he's been playing. But I also think they owe Taj to be able to get open and make plays for Taj so
Sure.
Taj can continue to do what he's doing. Because, like I said, man, at the end of the day, I know people don't think about this. Taj is fighting for a spot at the next level as well. So everything goes hand in hand with them. As you know, that was my thing. I didn't want to drop the ball from my quarterbacks just in case they want to go to the NFL, just in case a scout was there watching. So I think it makes the team better when they can bounce stuff off each other. But also, for a man that's busting his butt having a successful season, they'll know. But like I said, it comes down to winning. The difference between we go to the national championship. I think Crab is taken in the top three, and that's
I mean, top 10 still isn't too bad, Lyle.
no,
Let's
it
not
isn't bad, but
nitpick.
I'm just saying.
I know what you're
I'm just
saying.
saying for the top, bro. We make the champ. We go to the national championship. He might win the Heisman. He might get top
Sure.
three. Same with Graham. Might be a first round draft pick. So I think it's just one of those things um, that those guys have to work together. They got to make plays for each other and help the O line. So like I said, if we can get off the ball, especially one on ones, we can get off the ball and he can get the ball out of his hand quicker. We can make plays that helps the O line. That helps Taj. And that's what the greatest thing about football is. It takes all 11 people to be successful, and so I think that they're headed to the right track. This week was awesome for them. I feel like with people missing, they still were able to get the dub. And like I said, I think we got to understand. You talked about in that stat, the people we've lost to have pretty dang good records. We talked about West Virginia; they won again. So hey,
13-2. The only losses, and for those that don't know what Lyle's talking about, the three losses Texas Tech has this year, those teams' combined record is 13-2. The only two losses that they have
Texas.
is to Penn State and Texas. We're talking about two top 6 teams in the country. So again, there's no moral victories here, right? Like there's no moral victories, but also hindsight in actually playing the season out can tell you that, okay, and I'm guilty of it, Lyle. I'll be the first one to admit it. Wyoming was picked to finish 6th in the Mountain West. They may damn near win that conference, right? We know what Oregon is. They're a college football playoff team. Everybody was respecting them. I was probably the harshest on West Virginia. I'll take that L and I'll take it handily, right? Like if you look at West Virginia's schedule, Lyle, like don't look now or go ahead and do. I don't really care. They might go 8-4, 9-3. Like their schedule it's there for them, right? Like their hardest game they have remaining is OU. Chalk that one up. That's an L probably, right? But
And
they get to face like Oklahoma State, Cincy, BYU at home. Like I mean, it sets up nicely for them, right? And so again, Texas Tech, if you look at it, should they probably be 3-2 at worst? Yeah, you lost the damn games though, but you're playing some high quality opponents and teams that are better than a lot of people thought, including myself, right? And so there's something to that, definitely for sure.
Yeah, and like I said that a long time ago, man. I said that about Wyoming, man. It's just, I think we talked about it a couple podcasts ago, man. With the transfer portal, man, there's no teams anymore that's just awful. Like with NILs and transfer portal, everybody
Except
got.
for Nevada. Nevada's butt cheeks.
Yeah. Have you ever been in Nevada?
No, but well, Vegas, yes. The actual campus, no.
It's so awful. We played there. Hotel smelled like butt cheeks and gambling, and and cigarettes.
I like one of those smells that you just said.
That's
It was
true.
the middle one, to be clear. It was the
Yeah,
middle one, gambling. I don't want people to
yeah.
think that I like the smell of the other two things that you mentioned. I like the middle one though, gambling. Yeah.
Wasn't clean, man. I can tell you, Mike Leach was not happy about the place we stayed. It wasn't clean. I know for a fact. I slept in a sweatsuit on top of my bed. So in the morning, people were pretty fatigued. Beat a great team with Cap. I know most of y'all want to hate, but we beat Cap, and it was a good game, man. But I'll tell you what, man, these transfer portals, these NIL deals, it's gonna make the games a lot more level than you guys think. Because like I said, you look at Wyoming's team, a lot of them dudes come from D1. Texas State. Texas State is balling, but you go look at their roster, they have at least 15 Power Five people and they're starting 22. So I mean, you're getting cats from, LSU and Alabama that's
Auburn.
bouncing back,
Yeah. In
Auburn.
Texas State's case, yeah.
Yeah, and so those guys are four-star guys that's going and just looking for opportunity to play. So I think that's one thing people got to understand. We're in a different era of college football. So scheduling teams, boo boo, like back in the day when we used to schedule North Dakota State, it was to beat them by 75 points, Weber State and stuff like that. Now you schedule these type teams, you got to be careful because they got cats of people that played against same level kids you got. Maybe not as a whole. You may have 5 kids that are Power Five kids versus everybody being Power Five kids,
Sure.
but you never know, man. Those kids still could play, and I think that's a stat I saw. I think you posted that stat about all those schools that were on that line playing FBS versus
Oh yeah.
FCS. I think, but like I said, man, those it's a different era, man. So I think that's for people to understand, and I hope people understand also just to be appreciative. Like wins don't come easy. I haven't had a lot of wins as a head coach. I saw somebody on Twitter made a comment about it. That's a good one. But wins are hard to come by. So when you get them, you got to take advantage of them. You got to appreciate them. And I think, like I said, last year, we can go look at first year coaches. I don't think there's many that go 8-4. And so you got to give time. You got to give time for him to build his program and do what he wants to do. So like I said, I think everybody's got to be patient, trust the process, and we're in there. And like we talked about last time, it's his job to pump up Texas Tech. I want to go to Texas Tech as a recruit right now because of what they're doing, regardless of the results. Yes, I want to see results, but we landed a 5-star receiver first time ever. So obviously something's working for
Isn't
him.
that like recruiting though? Like I
That's
know
what I'm saying.
people like that's the one thing I don't understand. Like when people come out and say like, why would a 5-star want to go there? It's like, well, first and foremost, he's gonna play, right? Like, and let's just use Micah Hudson as the example because he is the example in this, right? Like, if he goes to Texas, is he gonna play as a true freshman? I mean, probably, but at Texas Tech, like, I'm not saying it's a lock, but let's be real,
Yes, it is.
it's a lock,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's one of those deals, right? And not to mention, you're looking at this in terms of, okay, why do you recruit at an elite level? And it's to win, right? Like if you're not winning, like Texas Tech is not living up to expectations now, right? This is why you recruit at an elite level. It takes time to get those guys in and playing, but that's the whole point of recruiting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, people have to understand that, in my opinion. But yeah, no, I think you're right, about the Joey McGuire aspect of it for sure. And um, it's funny this weekend as we transition to Baylor, it's where he learned a lot about college football, right? You think about it. But before we get into previewing Baylor a little bit, let us know your score prediction for Texas Tech at Baylor. It's a big one. Whoever wins this is back at 500. The other one, their bowl eligibility chances look very bleak, to say the
Mm,
least, at that point. Where is the game taking place? It'll be in Waco at McLean Stadium, a.k.a. the toilet seat.
mm.
Kickoff set for 7 p.m. It'll be a nationally televised game on ESPN2. 82nd all-time meeting, Lyle, right? And the record's pretty close. It's 41-39-1 um, in this one. And Baylor actually leads it when it's all
Mm.
said and done. But what's the one thing, in your opinion, Texas Tech has to do well to get the second road victory of the Joey of the Joey? What the hell am I trying to say?
Jagowi.
Wow.
Hey, that might be a new thing. Jagowi.
Jesus, that was maybe I need to stop drinking the Celsius. I'm caffeined out right now. I'm tweaking. Anyway,
That's good.
it's 1-6. That's what I was trying to say. Road game wise, what does Texas Tech have to do to get that second victory for Joey McGuire on the road?
I think the biggest thing is turnovers. I mean, protecting the ball and turnovers. I think that's the difference. I don't think we had any turnovers last game. If I'm not mistaken, I believe we didn't. And I think that's the difference. I think we cannot turn the ball over and give them opportunities to hang in the game. I think we got to start fast and not turn over the ball. And when I mean start fast, it's not go up 21-0. I just think stay ahead of the chains. If we're not successful, punt the ball, play defense. And I think we got a chance. I think where we miss out is if we turn the ball over, if we get behind, make mistakes that turn into big plays. So that's my two things. I think I don't want to say better. I think we're equally yoked, as my preacher would say, with two people that are married. Yeah, two people that are married that are not. Equally yoked is what he would say. So, anyways, I think we're equally yoked as a team, and I think it comes down to who protects the ball, and who can have a big play or two down the road. Because, like I said, I think that we had some big plays Saturday that kind of changed the momentum. I think momentum is going to play a big game. I don't think we talked about this earlier. I don't think the crowd is going to make a difference. I really don't. Like you said, I think it might be as many Texas Tech fans as it is Baylor fans in that piece, really. And so I don't think it's going to be a fan base game, but I think it's just taking care of the ball, starting fast. So I think I like Tech.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how Texas Tech goes about some of these things in terms of, okay, do we want the ball first? Because I think that there's some ways where you could go about it, right? If you're Texas Tech and start fast in that regard. I probably wouldn't. But if you're trying to send a message and really see if maybe Baylor used all of their mental energy in that historic comeback last weekend, because give credit to Baylor. That was legit historic. They scored 26 unanswered to beat UCF in the bounce house in the fourth quarter, right? And also, did you see that play from the UCF quarterback where he ran back into the end zone and then got a 4th and 10?
No, I did not see.
You got to go watch that. It is absolutely electric. The call by the announcer, otherworldly. It's too bad they weren't there.
That's
Fox,
great.
just get your people
I'm gonna have
there.
to steal that for my kids when something goes bad. That is utter worldly.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do, man. It's okay. I'll send the trademark fee your way here in just a second. But no, I think that's for Texas Tech this weekend at Baylor. Really, what I'm most interested in, and I talked about it in the preview that was posted yesterday here on the channel. It really comes down to the offensive line, right? Again, Baylor ranks 13th against the run in terms of they give up the second most run yards to opposing teams in the Big 12, right? I want to see if you punch Baylor in the mouth, how do they respond, right? Specifically at home. And because you've seen what Baylor did on the road last week, is that their turning point? 100% could be. And I want to give all the credit in the world to them for that. But I want to see if Texas Tech, as you mentioned, Lyle, can come out fast, punch Baylor in the mouth, and see, okay, we're going to play our brand of football and see if Baylor can adapt to that. Right. Because I think that that's going to be the big thing for Texas Tech moving forward is this isn't your team where you look back at it and they're going to pass 60 times a game. That's just not how it's going to work, right? This is going to be the type of team that what they're best at is going in there and dictating the type of football this game is going to be played for 60 minutes, right? That's what they're best at. And they did it against Houston. Now, credit to Houston. Offensively, they balled out in the first half. But in the second half, they were non-existent, right? And so does that carry over? What kind of adjustments do you make? I agree with you in the sense of if you ask me who's the more talented rosters at Texas Tech or Baylor, I don't know. Pick whichever one you want, and I could see your point, right? But I do think Texas Tech has the opportunity here to get back on track because I'm telling you right now, Lyle, I think this is the game, and this may be my bold prediction. Call me out on it. I think this is the game where Jerron Bradley absolutely goes dumb. I think he's going to have a 100-plus yard receiving game because here's the thing. Taj is your centerpiece. There's no doubt about it. I know your feelings about Jerron Bradley, but in order for Texas Tech to live up to their potential, you have to allow Baron Morton to throw the football a little bit more, right? And here's the thing. I want them to throw it downfield more because that opens things up theoretically in the run game because you have to space it out a little bit more if you're a defense. The guy I want them to throw the ball downfield to is Jerron Bradley because, again, he's 6'4", right? He's going to win more 50-50 balls than 50-50 of them, right? Like he is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So get him involved. He's an NFL talent. I think that they're going to look back at last week, right? He had 3 targets. He had a drop, but he had 1 catch for 5 yards. You can't do that if you realistically want to beat teams that are on your level, right? Like he is your second best playmaker, in my opinion. Okay. You've got to get the ball in his hands. I think he goes out there and absolutely balls out in this one. Taj Brooks is still the centerpiece. He's going to make everything go in terms of the Texas Tech offense and the passing game, making life easier for them. But I think Jerron Bradley's going to have a big time game in Waco. I'm talking like 6 to 8 catches, 120 to 150 yards in a tutty. I think he goes absolutely ridiculous this week. And again, I'm going to have a hard time, Lyle. We can jump into our predictions now here as we head out towards
I do
want
to say before you go to your prediction. Hey, and Bradley, I think Bradley is an NFL receiver.
Agreed.
Let me state that. Like, I think he has the talent. And there's nothing that I think that he can't do. Now, I just want to put that out there so people know. And I feel like I could say that because I played with some really good guys, one in being Crab, who was 6'2", 220, and he kind of inserted himself, like his dominance. I want to see more Bradley from blocking. Like, I don't see Bradley block like Crab. I seen Crab take people to the stands. I seen Crab knock people's helmets off from trying to press them. And I just want to see that dominance from him that I know is there, but I want to see him be physical. And I think that's the thing that we're missing overall at receivers is being physical. That's one thing in practice when we talked about Crab. I was the smallest person in the Big 12, as Coach Mitchell would say, our DB's coach at the time. But Crab and Danny and Jared Hicks and Joe Filani, those type of guys when I first got there would not allow you to not be physical. And to me, that's been the biggest difference. If you go watch Joe Filani's tape, you'll see Joe Filani blocking people out of bounds. They're the same size, both 6'4", 230. Maybe Joe's a little bigger. Jared Hicks, another 6'4", big guy. The way they block, the way they play with the ball out in their hand dictates how they play with the ball in their hand. So for me, Jay Brad, if you're listening to me, big dog, I just want to see you assert your dominance from blocking to getting off the ball, man. Let them dudes know, man. I didn't have the opportunity to be bigger than anybody. So as far as when it came to me dominating, I wasn't blocking anybody to the sideline. I just had to get my body in front. But use that. I love to see that, man. Use that. Our other big receivers. Get physical with them boys, man. It takes a piece out of their mind when you take them to the sideline, then line back up and run a route. So I think that's the only thing that they're missing from those bigger guys you have the opportunity to get. And I know Coach Juice is doing a great job with teaching them guys, but I would just love to see them be dominant, come out, people getting blocked out of bounds. I think it changes the mindset of a DB when they know when you ain't getting the ball, they're going to have to see you and feel you.
Yeah, no, I think, again, it's all about ceiling at this point, right? Like, I think this game, it dictates your season at a high level, Lyle. Like, again, there's a big difference between being 3-3 at the halfway mark and 2-4.
Oh, I know.
Like, if you want to make a bowl game, yeah, well, I didn't bring it up. But no, like, I think, for bowl eligibility purposes, like, realistically, you see Texas Tech going 4-2 the rest of the way if they lose at Baylor? I don't know, right? 3-3 is much more doable. You give yourself a little leeway, right? And maybe that at that point you're starting to hit your stride if you're Texas Tech, right? Like you could make that argument. Hey, you won 2 in a row. You got Kansas State coming into town. We know how Texas Tech plays at home, right? Like they play like a top 25 team at home. It's wild. It's wild to look at, right? Like you took Oregon to the brink. You probably should have beat them. If it wasn't for one or two plays, right? You obviously dominated Tarleton State, and then you handled business against Houston as well. You're a completely different team at home. If you win this game, I think it kind of potentially has the chance to change your trajectory of your season to get back on track, not live up to the expectations that you had preseason, because I don't think that's going to happen. But right now, the main focus for Texas Tech shouldn't be, okay, winning a Big 12 title. Theoretically, you still have that chance. But I think what it should be is, again, 1-0 this week, because if you win this game, okay, now you could possibly see that momentum train going a little bit moving forward, and it's big for Texas Tech. We talked about it, Lyle, and let's get the odds on the screen real quick so that people can see them down there at the bottom. Baylor's actually minus 1.5 point favorites. Total 57.5. My prediction's right there, Lyle. I've actually got Baylor winning 31-30, and the reason is this. Shoot the messenger. I don't care if you want. Prove it to me. Prove to me you can win on the road. It's that simple. You're 1-6 as a head coach, Joey McGuire. This isn't just a calling out Joey McGuire thing. This is a calling out this team on the road. They play drastically different when they are not at Jones AT&T Stadium. Prove to me you can win on the road. Simple and plain. That's what I need to see. I'll tell you right now, if they would have beat West Virginia, I'd probably be picking them to beat Baylor. They didn't, though, right? And they haven't played well on the road this year. Is it different at the toilet seat at McLean Stadium in Waco? Because I'll tell you this, my mind will change if they win, right? But I'm okay with being wrong in this situation because Texas Tech hasn't proven to me that they can win on the road, and that's why I'm picking Baylor to win. It's that simple.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. And like I said, I think it's going to come down to a couple plays. Honestly, I really do. I think it's going to come down to a couple plays, or a couple plays are going to make it a big difference. And I know that's probably real broad. Everyone's like, no crap, bro. It's going to be one or the other. But
I can say the word for you if you want.
Yeah, my mom listens. I don't want to hear her mouth.
Oh, mine does too. It's fine. No shit. There we go.
Yeah, so I think it's gonna be where it comes down to close game, 1 or 2 plays, or somebody's gonna come out and lay it down, and the other's gonna go one way or the other. So I think my bold prediction, I think it's gonna be a good game. I think Tech wins by 2 touchdowns, but I do think it's
spicy. That's spicy.
I do think it's going to come down to the fourth quarter, though. I think it's close into the fourth, and then I think Tech kind of gets that 2 touchdown win.
What's your score prediction?
I'm gonna go 35-21. Yeah.
Wow. We're gonna have to put that one on social media right there, Lyle.
Yeah. I just have a feel, man. Baylor it's just something about Baylor.
Let's stir that pot. I like it. I'll say this. I really truly
do. They should put the famous Mike Leach Baylor speech up before they run out. That'll do it.
Hey, send a quick message to your guy Kitley. He's in the thumbnail.
That's true.
Yeah, Kid, send a quick message. Be like,
I know you're listening, kid.
Play this shit. Yeah. Play this shit.
Oh, good
there
time.
You go. That's what you got to do.
I really wish they could play back at Cowboy Stadium, though. That was fun for the players.
I'm not going to lie to you. I enjoyed it, but I much more enjoy games on campus than neutral site games.
But it's more so for the players.
I get it, because not everybody's going to play in an NFL stadium in their career. I 100% understand. But from a fan perspective, I like games on college campuses.
I do too, but it's just crazy going there and see Tony Romo, that was the thing for me. It was cool to get to play there 3 times, 4 times, and then actually get to go the next level and play there. So, it's just a different experience for some of those guys, man, that not everybody gets to experience it and go do that. And it's just that's maybe the best. I know they built some new ones in the last, but it's
up there though still.
Top 3 best stadiums. So for a team to come in there, and it usually sells out because it's in Dallas. I think at Tech it don't sell out all the time unless they're 4-0, 4-0, or
sure.
I think at a game it's not going to sell out where it's at. But I think at Cowboy Stadium, because of the venue, it sells out. It sold out every time, no matter what our record was.
Yeah, they do limited seating, but I remember, oh gosh, it was the year that they beat when Pat beat them. I was at that game. and like it's limited tickets, but it's a sellout for it, right? Like it's like 45,000 or whatnot. But still, I mean, Cowboy Stadium, like it's been around for more than a decade. It hasn't aged.
No.
Like it hasn't aged. Like I don't understand it. I've been in there probably 2-3 handfuls of times at this point for different events, right? Whether that's concert, football games, whatever it is. And every time I'm in there, I question myself, like, how is this venue 10 plus years old? It
Yeah.
makes no sense. You know what venue looks like it's over 10 years old? The toilet seat.
Yes.
Because it's a toilet seat. And again, I'm not, in all honesty, though, McLean Stadium's actually kind of nice. It's kind of nice.
No.
But I will say, like, it just it looks like a toilet seat every time, dude.
It's
Every time. I can't get it out of my mind. I just can't do it. Before we head out of here, let us know one more time your predictions for Texas Tech at Baylor. I took Baylor to win by 1. This man over here, he was spicy. Went 35-21 Red Raiders. Is that a homer pick? We'll find out on Saturday. Lyle.
Hey, don't let me down, guys. I love y'all.
Lyle, where can the people find you on social media, man?
They can find me at Coach LLEONG, and you can find the man that makes all this possible. The star, the myth, the legend.
I don't know about all that, man. I don't know about all that.
My bad, RC.
But you can follow me at RCMB323. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video and hit that subscribe button to join the most engaging Texas Tech community here on YouTube, as well as the fastest growing Texas Tech community here on YouTube. I think we can get to about 9,000 by the end of October. Let's make it happen, people. We're almost there. He's Lyle. I'm RC. Appreciate y'all tuning in to the Back to 12 podcast. We'll be back next week, hopefully talking about Lyle's prediction being right. See y'all next time.